Begin firing sequence. Load CD player. Increase amplification. Activate audio. Volume to maximum. Launch CD.
This is 580 WIBW's On the Other Hand.
You better lock the doors, turn up the radio, strap yourself in.
With your host, Raubin Pierce.
Look at him, he's crazy. He's like a vicious little chihuahua thing.
And Megan Mozek.
She's got problems. Scary problems.
But right now we're going to share the love with you. Garrett was a guest on the program back in the middle of June. Megan, you weren't here at the time. You were off taking care of little Elizabeth. But, Garrett, welcome back to the program, and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks again for having me on, guys.
How did it feel last night when you saw the final tally and you had not just defeated Melvin Neufeld, a former Speaker of the House in the state of Kansas, a fixture in the Kansas legislature for over 2 decades, and you trounced him?
Well, it felt pretty good. It was, I guess you could say, pretty rewarding feeling. We just tried our best to work very hard from day one, and I very much enjoyed the opportunity to meet with many people from the district and felt like I learned a lot about their thoughts, concerns, and ideas, and I believe that's a very important part of this job.
What did you hear from people when you were out in your district? Because, again, Melvin Neufeld, since the late 80s, had represented the area, and then again in the 90s. What were the people saying when you were talking to them?
A lot of people, I believe, were feeling that our government was becoming more and more about the lobbyists and interest groups and not about the people, and that was a concern to many. Some people felt like 24 years in the exact same position was too long, and I believe those were two of the most common things we heard.
Garrett, you are, just from reading your website, you're very passionate about jobs, especially jobs out in your district. And you think that the current climate in Kansas is actually creating a hostile environment to create new jobs. Did you believe your opponent, Melvin Neufeld, was one of the roadblocks to new jobs in your area?
I would say when it comes to that, during the mid-2000s, we were just spending so much money so fast that it created a budget that was unsustainable, as we've seen in the last couple of years. We were increasing spending at close to 10% a year from 2004 to 2008, and it seemed okay to all of our legislators because we had the money. But I'm a very firm believer that we must be fiscally responsible in the good times and the bad times, and I don't think we did that. And even if it seemed okay because we weren't raising taxes, we weren't hurting businesses during that time, we were even maybe giving some incentives, our budget was just growing so fast that at some point it was going to come back and get us, and it did. That's one of my biggest concerns.
You had to overcome an F rating from the NRA in this race. How did you end up? Because when I had you on the program in June, we talked about guns and gun ownership. How did you end up with an F rating from the NRA?
Yeah, we did talk about guns and my firm support of Second Amendment rights, and how I actually sponsored legislation in student government in support of the House bill that would allow concealed carry on college campuses. And I'm also a lifelong hunter. But in my candidate survey, it turned out I missed one of the 33 questions. I misread it. It was on semi-automatic weapons, which I actually own, a semi-automatic shotgun, and I felt like I was saying I supported semi-automatic weapons. I learned a valuable lesson that you should go back and review all the candidate questionnaires, but at the time I was placing a much higher priority on getting out and meeting people, and
apparently
so
that question carried a lot of weight in their ranking.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did.
And did you tried to contact the NRA to say, hey, whoa, sorry, I messed up? What was their response?
Well, I found out about it in mid-July, and I honestly was trying contacting them about every other day because it's such an important issue to many many of our residents of this district, I really wanted to get it cleared up and to let them know where I really stood on the issue. Because I think it's very important to correctly educate voters on their candidates, because it's hard enough sometimes when many people are just complacent and don't educate themselves. And there were just some, it's a big organization, and it's hard to talk to the right people, and it made it difficult to get things cleared up. And then once we got down to the very end, after they sent out mailings and all the information telling everyone my rating, they said they weren't going to change it till, potentially before the general, I guess. So.
And apparently the voters looked past that in your district. Did you get asked about it? Did people ask you about the F rating?
Yeah, they sure did. They did a whole lot of them, and we worked very hard to make it very clear that is not the case. And got a lot of help from a lot of different NRA members, sending letters to the editors, talking to family and friends, spreading the word. We tried to get it out in our mailings. We tried to push that very hard because like I said before, we believe voters deserve the right to know where their candidates stand on different issues. And again, I didn't make the mistake, but we tried to clear that up as well as we could.